After 5 years of marriage, Daniel fell in love with a younger girl. The day I caught him, he held a cigarette between his fingers and laughed softly. Amelia, it has always been me chasing after you. It's time someone chased after me too. Just this once. After a month, I'll return to the family, okay? That night, I moved out and filed for divorce. What he did not know was that I had also fallen in love with someone else. Chapter 1. That girl had provoked me many times, but I never believed her. I wanted Daniel to tell me himself, because he had once loved me to the bone. Every single thing he had done had been real, without the slightest falsehood. Until that day, when I went to the hospital alone for surgery. Daniel said he had a meeting and could not get away. After the surgery ended, I received a message from the girl. He carried me onto your bed and did it twice. Now he's taking a shower, getting ready for the 3rd time. Do you want to come back and see? Although it was only a minor surgery, I was originally supposed to stay in the hospital for 3 days. After hesitating for a while, I dragged my aching body back home. At the entrance, the girl's glittering high heels and stockings were scattered on the floor. On the sofa lay a peach pink bra. In the master bedroom, when Daniel heard the sound, he wrapped her in the quilt, leaving only a pair of slender, fair legs exposed. I did not make a scene. There was only a brief instant when blood rushed to my head, and I nearly lost my balance. After a person cries too many times, it is as if the tears have dried up. Even in unbearable pain, no tears will fall. At first, Daniel looked somewhat panicked. Later, he hurriedly pulled on his pants, dragged me to the balcony, and gave the girl a look. You go first. Patricia curled her lips in a smile, put on Daniel's white shirt as a dress, and swaggered out of my house. The instant the door closed, Daniel's hand was still clamped around mine like a chain. He had even forgotten that I was supposed to be in the hospital right now. I had just finished surgery. Exhaustion made it almost impossible for me to think. But deeper than that was a pain that had sunk into my bones. The man before me, with his handsome and refined features, the man who had once been willing to die for me, had betrayed our marriage and our love. Trampling me beneath his feet, he had cut me to death, slice by slice. In this relationship, seeing that I did not speak, Daniel gave a bitter laugh. He let go of me and lit a cigarette. Very soon, the smoke made me cough, but he did not care. Instead, he looked at me mockingly. Do you think I went too far? Clearly, I should have gone to the hospital with you, but I brought someone home instead. But look at yourself. Would you feel heartbroken or upset because of this? Amelia, would you care? All these years, it has always been me chasing after you. I'm human too. I get tired too. Now I also want to be chased by someone. He casually exhaled a smoke ring and said flatly, just treat it as if I'm on a business trip for a month. I promise this will be the only time in my life. After a month, I'll return to the family, okay? I numbingly forced out a few words. Let's divorce. Daniel scoffed. There's no way I'll divorce you. Amelia, you know that. I love you, but people need to breathe. And people all make mistakes. I think you'll understand that. After saying that, Daniel soon left. A few minutes later, his message and Patricia's message arrived at the same time. Divorce won't benefit you. All the family assets over these years were earned by me. My legal team won't let you get a single cent. Your parents are divorced and each have their own families. If you divorce, where will you go? Amelia, be good. Still refusing to divorce. Sis, the one he loves is me. Believe it or not, he won't come home or answer your calls for this entire month. The phone clattered onto the table. In the next moment, I started vomiting. Chapter 2. My whole body was dizzy, and in my mind, 2 Daniels overlapped. One was the Daniel from the beginning, whose love had been so blazing that I could hardly receive it. The other was the Daniel from later, whose face was righteous and unapologetic as he stabbed a knife into me. I could not understand how a person could become like this, but I had to accept it. The nurse station called, but I was too sick from vomiting to answer. Very soon, another call came in. After cleaning myself up, I sat up. The other person's low, pleasant voice carried a trace of urgency. Amelia, you need to be hospitalized. Why aren't you in the hospital? Where is Daniel? Joel's words made my heart ache even more. I only pressed the phone and said in a low voice, "Joel, can you stop caring about me?" He fell silent for a moment. I hung up the phone and then collapsed onto the sofa, sinking into a hazy sleep, until more than 10 hours later, Joel, who was supposed to be abroad, suddenly appeared at my door and forcibly took me to the hospital. When I got into his car, I was still somewhat dazed. Looking at him, I saw that compared with his university days, he now carried even more elegance and depth. He always had that noble, distant air that kept strangers away. Back then, I had never dared to speak to him. Now, I did not even dare meet his eyes. Everything I had experienced over these years felt like a dream. Because I did not dare look at him, I missed the fleeting trace of heartache in his eyes. Under Joel's persuasion, I stayed in the hospital for another 3 days. Breast nodule surgery was not anything especially serious, but my body was weak, and my emotions were also troubled, so I looked to be in poor condition. Over these few days, Joel came to the hospital every day, bringing me meals, chatting with me, and occasionally even working in the ward. Chapter 3. Daniel never called again, but Patricia kept telling me what they were doing. All the sweet things couples did, they were doing. I looked at Joel, then thought of Daniel. 10 years ago, we were all university classmates. The person I first fell for was Joel, but he had an entire air of strangers keep away, and no one dared to approach him at all. The bravest thing I ever did was pick up Joel's book and bring it downstairs to the boys' dormitory. But I ran into his roommate, Daniel. For some reason, from that time on, Daniel began pursuing me with fierce intensity. At first, I did not like him, but his pursuit was truly overwhelming. He entered my life in a way no ordinary person could resist. Without realizing it, he forcibly took over the tasks of buying me meals, getting me water, and picking me up and dropping me off between classes. When I refused, he smiled without speaking, but insisted on following me. Because of him, everyone else began keeping their distance from me. I did not like this kind of grand, public approach, until that winter break, when my parents fought over cheating and nearly caused a fatal incident. My mother broke the mistress's nose, and the choice was either to pay compensation or go to jail. Daniel found out my home address. When he came to my door, I was crying in collapse. Later, I did not know how he helped handle it, but my parents divorced peacefully, and the mistress did not pursue compensation. As for me, I developed depression. Daniel became even more considerate as he kept chasing after me, carefully coaxing me in every possible way. Everyone around us at school knew he liked me very much. Some even began accusing me of not knowing what was good for me, scolding me for stringing him along. At that time, I was also wondering whether I liked him or not. What should I do? What exactly was liking someone? When I was very young, my parents had also liked each other. Our home had been full of laughter and joy. But later, they still hurt each other like enemies. Just when I could not figure it out, Daniel got into a fight for me. A girl who disliked me and her boyfriend spread rumors about me behind my back. When Daniel found out, he rushed over and fought them. And because of that, the school gave him a warning. At that time, it seemed I finally confirmed that I also liked him. We officially got together, and Daniel was very happy too. Like an ordinary young couple, we studied, ate, shopped, and dated together until graduation. Daniel's major was different from mine, and his work was much harder than mine. Without realizing it, the dynamic changed from him taking care of me in every way to me taking care of him in every way. I learned to cook for him, make soup for him, and take care of his food, clothing, and daily life. At first, he was very pleasantly surprised, but later, gradually, he did not come home for dinner every time, and when he did not come back, he also would not remember to tell me. If I asked him in advance whether he would come back for dinner so I could prepare early, he would find me annoying, say I was disturbing his work, or say I was being suspicious of him. But very soon, he would apologize to me again, buy me gifts and flowers, hold me and beg for my forgiveness, hand over all his salary to me, and shout that he wanted to buy a house and get married. Later, there was one New Year. My father called in advance and said there was no room at his house, and that if I went, I would have to stay in a hotel. My mother had also just remarried and sent me a text telling me to spend New Year at my father's place. After Daniel found out, he did not go home to spend New Year with his parents. He drove straight to my side. On New Year's Eve, he proposed to me. Our wedding was simple, but warm. All our old classmates were envious. Daniel's roommate Joel did not come, but he sent a very large cash gift. At first, we were also very happy, but later, many ambiguous things began appearing around Daniel. When I asked, he thought I was suspicious. When I did not ask, he thought I no longer loved him. My depression relapsed, and he also lost patience, believing that I had too comfortable a life and was making trouble out of nothing. But occasionally, he would still hold me with heartache and accompany me to the hospital. Only the frequency grew lower and lower, until I stopped taking the initiative to message or call him. I quit my job and underwent long-term treatment for depression. Daniel was still dissatisfied. Everything he once promised me gradually came to nothing. Patricia was not enough to make me angry or heartbroken. What hurt me was that Daniel had once loved me very much, and now, he no longer loved me. Chapter 4. What Daniel did not know was that I no longer loved him either. 2 years ago, when my depression was at its worst, I cried and cried all the time. No one wanted to listen to me cry constantly. Anyone would become annoyed. At my most broken moment, I attempted suicide once. When the knife fell, my phone received an anonymous email. Amelia, happy birthday. I hope you will always love yourself. I had received that email every year since freshman year. I had tried asking who the other person was. No one replied. That time, I told him that if he did not tell me who he was, I would never know in this lifetime, because I had decided to die. Almost instantly, Joel's call came. I did not know why he had wished me happy birthday. There was never any ambiguity between him and me, but he began looking up treatment plans for depression. He encouraged me to write part-time, reminded me to take my medicine, but his messages were not frequent. He would send me one message each week, and even mention changes in the weather, telling me to add more clothing. Every time my emotions were about to collapse, he would appear quietly, even across an 8-hour time difference, like a living, breathing robot, also like a beam of light saving me in the dark night. Never showy, yet as fine and gentle as a spring breeze. This was the first time he had jumped out of my phone and appeared before my eyes. I lay on the hospital bed and looked at Joel. Can you help me find a lawyer to handle my divorce case? Joel's long, beautiful fingertips paused over the computer. Then he smiled slightly. Yes. Chapter 5. After I was discharged from the hospital, I moved straight out of Daniel's house. All these years, I had never thought of taking his money. Besides, I had earned quite a bit from writing. It was enough for me to spend on myself. Judging from the information Patricia provided, Daniel had indeed not come back these past few days. She even recorded a video of Daniel. In the video, he was naked, lazily smoking. Amelia can't leave me. Even her parents don't want her. She has no job, and her depression acts up all the time. Does she still think she's that pure and charming university girl from back then? She won't agree to divorce. I collected all the evidence, including the explicit performance the two of them put on in the bedroom. The lawyer Joel found for me was very professional, and the divorce lawsuit quickly entered the process. I did not know how to thank him, so I invited Joel to dinner, but he took the initiative to bring up some past events. The articles you published in magazines back in university were very beautiful. I can still recite them even now. Amelia, could you help me write an autobiography? You can set the price. I felt flattered. You remember the articles I published in magazines? An autobiography? Of course, I can write it for you for free, but I'll need to interview you. Joel nodded. Sure, come to my place. I'll show you some photos from my childhood and growth experiences too. It should make the writing more vivid. He had helped me so much that I naturally agreed at once. But what made me happiest was that someone actually remembered the articles I had published in magazines back in university. When we arrived at Joel's home, where he lived alone, he took out some old photos. The moment I flipped through them, I was shocked. You were this outstanding as a child? You can play the piano? And the violin too? I never saw you perform in university. Joel, you're amazing. He smiled. His emotions had always been steady as he slowly began telling me about his life from childhood to adulthood. Only. The first 18 years were described very briefly. When he reached university, his eyes grew a little deeper and were tinged with gentleness. In freshman year, I fell for a girl, and from then on, it became impossible to stop. Unfortunately, because I wasn't proactive enough, someone else got there first. Young people always value pride above everything. By the time I reacted and regretted it, it seemed to be too late. For many years afterward, I thought countless times about giving up, only to discover that I couldn't. I thought I would just bless her from afar, but I never expected that someone would take the card I wanted most and play it so terribly. Countless times, I once wondered, if I had been the one to hold that card, would life have looked completely different? I froze in place, with only my heartbeat exploding wildly. Joel raised his hand and gently touched the stray hair by my temple. Amelia, if I'm a card that arrived many years late, would you be willing to try looking at it? Maybe I can help you win. At the same time, Daniel was holding Patricia while watching a movie, enjoying Patricia kneeling there and serving him like a simp. When the court mediation call came in, he suddenly sat up and called Amelia with trembling hands. Amelia, I don't agree to the divorce. It's useless no matter how much you make a scene with me. I've been on a business trip these past few days. I'll come back in a week. All right? If you really divorce me, I guarantee you'll have nothing. Chapter 6. When Daniel was threatening me through gritted teeth over the phone, Joel was handing me a photo album. The moment I opened the first page, I froze. It was a scene of us in the same frame back in university, captured from an angle completely unfamiliar to me by someone unknown. There were photos of me with Daniel, and also photos of me with other female classmates. In some, the main subject was someone else, but these photos all had one thing in common. Joel and I were both in them, and even his gaze was crossing the crowd and landing on me. Every single one. I had never discovered the secret. My mind roared, as if everything I knew had been overturned. It turned out that, at the very beginning, when I was secretly wondering whether I should sneak a glance at the person I had a crush on, he had already been secretly looking at me. But why did things turn out like this later? If Daniel had not forcefully intervened back then, perhaps Joel and I might have had more possibilities. Everything had gone wrong. My eyes stung. On the other end of the phone, Daniel was still trying to force me. Do you know how much your medication costs every month? Don't you know depression is an illness for the rich? When it acts up, your hands shake so badly that you can't even work. How will you earn money to support yourself? Amelia, stop making trouble, okay? So he knew what I was like when my illness acted up. But in the past, he had pretended not to know, suppressing the bitterness in my heart. I smiled easily. Daniel, I don't want anything from you, and I don't want you either. We must divorce. After saying that, I hung up. No matter whether others would say I was being dramatic or difficult, that was what I intended to do. Since we had known each other once, no matter what the past had been like, now I only had one thought toward him. No matter whether it meant cutting bone or slicing flesh, I had to separate from him. After saying divorce, I suddenly realized that tears had begun flowing from my eyes again. But this time, they were no longer repressed. Instead, they felt as comfortable as spring rain arriving in the depths of winter. Joel reached over and pinched my cheek. Very cool. As if coaxing a little girl. I looked up at him and suddenly could not help smiling. Yes, I'm going to start being a very cool person. When I turned to the next page, I saw an even more unfamiliar version of myself. It was a photo from a long time ago, of me practicing skateboarding alone on campus. Joel's finger tapped the photo. You fell many times and kept practicing. At that time, I told myself that if you went again the next day, I would take the initiative to go up and teach you. But you didn't go the next day. Yes, I indeed did not go the next day. Because Daniel had seen that I was injured and strongly stopped me from going. He flew into a rage, saying that seeing me hurt made his heart ache, even though I liked it so much. Under his obstruction, I still never went again. In a daze, after so many years, I looked steadily at Joel. Before I could speak, a smile appeared on his handsome face. Want me to teach you today? Okay. A joy that had not appeared in a long time flashed into my heart, as if an entire spring had arrived. That day, I had so much fun that I felt like I might burst, even though I still almost fell. Joel always saved me in time. When I was finally able to smoothly ride forward on the skateboard by myself, the wind lifted my hair, blowing away all my tangled emotions. I turned back and smiled at him. Joel caught up and waved at me. Together! Chapter 7. Originally, I thought that if Joel confessed to me, I could not accept. That would be unfair to him. Besides, the current me was far too broken, but he did not confess. He only took me again and again to do things that I truly loved deep down and had no way to refuse. Skateboarding, motorcycles, swimming, rock climbing. In just a few short days, we seemed to have become very good, familiar friends. Only then did I realize that Joel understood me even more than I understood myself. Another way to put it was that perhaps I did not love myself enough. It turned out that life could be this bright and light. I even stopped treating something as major as divorce like a huge matter. Daniel had originally thought I only wanted to leave with nothing in divorce because I was angry, but he soon discovered that I had truly made up my mind to leave. He also began to panic and used his old tactics again, a slap followed by a sweet date. Only this time, the sweet date was much bigger. He transferred all the savings under his name, an 8-figure amount in total, into my account. Then he sent me a message. Amelia, we're husband and wife. Don't you know how much I love you? You believed those angry words too? I was wrong, and I admit it. From now on, you manage the money, okay? But very soon, I entrusted the bank and the lawyer to return the money untouched. Only then did Daniel suddenly see clearly that this time, I really wanted a divorce. Even though Patricia served him more considerately and more humbly, he suddenly felt that it was not as enjoyable anymore. Chapter 8. When even money could not solve it. Daniel began recalling his relationship with Amelia. He prepared many surprises. Fireworks all over the city, a confession on the giant screen downtown, cars and refrigerators stuffed full of flowers, the latest bags, diamond necklaces, and he even went to Amelia's parents to plead his case. Yet he discovered that Amelia seemed to have vanished, completely ignoring all of them. On the court's side, Amelia's entrusted lawyer made things very clear. Amelia would not accept any mediation. She had submitted evidence of Daniel's infidelity, and her sole purpose was divorce. Moreover, she would not appear in court. Daniel was furious and began going home every day, frantically seeking out old friends to pour out his grievances, trying to find someone to help. But he discovered that Amelia had already cut off contact with everyone, until he found evidence of Amelia's plane ticket abroad. He called Joel. Joel, you've been abroad for many years. Can you help me check Amelia's current address? She's just throwing a tantrum with me. Halfway through his words, Amelia's laughter came from the other end. Joel, this cat jumped onto me. Come save me. Daniel felt as though he had been struck by lightning. For a long time, he could not believe it. He gritted his teeth and clenched the phone tightly. Joel, give me an explanation. Joel calmly looked at Amelia and smiled. Then he said to the phone in a calm voice, Daniel, I never intended to be friends with you. The lawyer I asked someone to find when Amelia's parents divorced is the same lawyer now handling your divorce case. When you were pursuing her, how many times did you ask me for help? I admit I wasn't as brave as you back then, but now you're already out of the game. Do you understand? Daniel took a deep breath. Bullshit. She and I are husband and wife. She's someone I've already had. Why would you bother picking up what I left behind? Joel sneered. Then you'd better not kneel like a dog and beg her forgiveness. I happen to be very good at beating dogs. The call was hung up. Daniel was so angry that he kicked the table hard. Why? What right did Joel have? Out of everyone, why him? And what right did Amelia have? What right did she have to divorce him? Chapter 9. I knew Daniel would stubbornly refuse to divorce for a while. But very soon, under Patricia's comfort, he would also give up struggling. He had always been that kind of person. When he loved, he was passionate as fire. But once his heart changed, it changed. Even he could not control his own emotions. Joel recommended an overseas travel group to me, saying it could help me find inspiration. That travel group was extremely tempting. Only after joining the trip did I discover that Joel had come too. It was only much later that I learned he had turned down a major project for that journey, yet never told me. That trip across 7 countries was unforgettable for the rest of my life. Hiking, boats, cars, carriages, trains, mountains, rivers, canyons, snow mountains, lakes, strange peaks and marvelous scenery revealed different wonders under different weather. But no matter how difficult the conditions were, Joel took very, very good care of me. An auntie in the group even quietly told me, "He must be a gentleman, a lover who can accompany you for a lifetime. His eyes are full of love for you, and he does not let you know." I felt it too. He always seemed afraid of scaring me. He liked me, yet was careful. He refused to be flamboyant, and everything he did was just right. His love was calm and peaceful, yet seeped into every gap. That day, beneath a gigantic waterfall, the sunlight was dazzling, and the rainbow spanning half the sky was so beautiful it could make people cry. I looked up. Joel hugged me from behind. He trembled as he kissed the root of my ear. I'm always thinking, can the cherry blossoms bloom for me once too? The roar of the waterfall intertwined with the sound of the wind, like a sorrowful yet romantic overture. I heard my own response from the bottom of my heart. They can. Chapter 10. After getting off the plane, I received a call from the lawyer. The divorce judgment had been granted. Daniel's emotions fluctuated repeatedly, but in the end, because he could not withstand the powerful logic of my lawyer, he was forced to accept the divorce. He still gave me some property. Apart from that, he still sent me messages from time to time. One moment, he accused me of having cheated with Joel long ago. The next, he blamed me for pushing him toward Patricia. He even said, "I loved you so much that I couldn't bear to let you hurt." But men all have base instincts. I only vented outside once. Could that really be such a bad thing? I even begged you. Just 1 month. Why did you have to force us to this point? Look at that. Clearly, he was the one who cheated. Yet he always had 10,000 reasons. If I replied, I would only become entangled with him. It was better not to reply. After receiving the divorce certificate, I donated the money Daniel had given me. Then, at Joel's suggestion, I planned to apply to study abroad while continuing to write part-time. Joel did not tell me that he had found someone to write me a recommendation letter. But since my admission went so smoothly, I could roughly guess. On the day I went abroad, we called each other. He was waiting for me overseas. I put away my phone, my heart feeling light. Finally, I could completely say goodbye to the past. The airport announcement reminded passengers that boarding could begin. A familiar voice came from behind me. "Amelia!" I turned back, somewhat dazed, as if I had returned to university, to the way Daniel always ran up from behind and called my name. He quickly reached me and tightly grabbed my arm. Tears instantly fell. His eyes were red, and he cried uncontrollably as he said, "Was all the love I gave you before fake? So many years, and just because of one mistake, you're abandoning me? Amelia, this isn't fair to me. You can't sentence me to death. Ever since I made this one mistake, you never gave me a single chance, not even to chat or talk things through. Are you not at fault at all? Between the two of us, did you really love me that much? What right do you have to abandon me like this?" Daniel looked genuinely heartbroken, and I also believed that he still had a few traces of sincerity toward me. But a person like him had sincerity, just not much of it. The one he loved most was himself, and I merely satisfied his occasional desire for pure love. His sincerity lost to his selfishness. The announcement urged passengers to board. Daniel refused to let go. I took an old phone out of my bag. "Daniel, you said I never truly loved you. But there is an app on this phone. We once said we would record every little moment after getting together in it. Back then, you forced me to download it. I recorded things for 3 years, but you never opened it again. If you want to confirm whether we ever loved each other, you can open it and look again. There is also a function in this app that lets us see each other's traces. During this time, you have been telling everyone that I abandoned you. At that time, where were you? I did not look. Do you want to look together?" Daniel's tears stopped abruptly. During this period, when he was overwhelmed by emotion, he would drive Patricia away. But before long, the two of them would sink again into desire. It was like venting, even more exaggerated than before. I smiled lightly. On many nights in the past, I kept wondering why you changed. Later, I realized that you did not change. I was the one who saw wrong. I mistook liking for love. Liking can change, but love does not. I liked you, but it was not love, so it could not withstand the test of time. The same goes for both of us. Let us end here. His tears rolled down again, but in the end, he released my arm. I glanced at Patricia, who was following Daniel from a distance, smiled indifferently, then turned and walked into the boarding gate. Chapter 11. After the plane landed, Joel was waiting for me at the airport. He took my luggage, pulled me into a deep embrace, and kissed the top of my head. I looked up at his refined, handsome features, stood on tiptoe, and smiled as I kissed his chin. The days we spent together were very comfortable. Joel never asked me what I liked, yet it seemed as if he was born knowing what I liked. Sometimes, I even thought he and I were naturally compatible. Only later did I realize that there were some things he actually did not like. But because I liked them, he began to like them too. Gradually, I also began to understand what he liked. And once I did, I realized I had fallen into his trap. Inside the hot spring cabin at night, Joel wanted me again and again, intensely. What I like most is you, Amelia. Everything else doesn't matter. I missed 10 years with you. Let me make all of it up, okay? He gently guided me, letting me experience for the first time what the most thrilling and pleasurable game in the world was. It turned out that such things really could make people addicted. I came to like it too, because it was Joel, even though we had only been together for a short time. My marriage with Daniel already felt like something from a previous life. My new novel began serialization, and every reader cried out that it was so sweet. So sweet. For the first time, I had the urge to show off my love. I openly told my readers that the prototype was my boyfriend. Joel also loved showing off our relationship. He would always calmly and subtly tell the people around him that he had the best girlfriend in the world. It turned out that couples did not have to quarrel. There were no misunderstandings either, much less tests and knots that could never be untied. I became completely immersed in my new life. But strangely, Daniel's girlfriend, Patricia, refused to let me go. She devoted herself to stalking all my accounts, using anonymous private messages. She told me that not long after I left, she and Daniel got their marriage certificate, and she was pregnant. When I saw it, I did indeed frown, because it felt dirty. Then I blocked her decisively. Later, gradually, when she received no response, she stopped sending messages. Chapter 12. 3 years later, I graduated with my master's degree. My relationship with Joel was stable. Between us, there was no passionate phase, stable phase, or cold phase. Instead, we maintained the same state from beginning to end. We went together into nature and into bustling city streets. We were each other's best friends, best soulmates, and best partners in body. Love did not need to be proclaimed. Yet day after day, it grew into my own flesh and blood. Love made a person grow brightly, without sorrow. I even forgot that I had once suffered from depression. All I remembered was that the next day, I would go hiking with Joel, secretly guessing what surprise he had prepared for me this time, then quietly tucking my stockings into my suitcase. I also wrote a wildly popular sweet romance novel beyond anything I had imagined. Its film and television rights were quickly sold, and it became explosively popular across the internet. Very soon, Daniel and Patricia also found out, even though I never appeared in their lives again. I still affected them. Patricia began to care deeply that Daniel had once liked me. She also began to care about the female intern from Daniel's company who messaged him at night. The two people who had once been a secret man and woman became legally married spouses staring at each other with ugly faces. Daniel was Daniel. His personality destined him to be that kind of person, so he began his old routine again, gradually not coming home. Then when Patricia got angry and broke down, he would buy a bouquet of flowers to coax her. Patricia accused him of no longer coaxing her as attentively as before. She caught him secretly sending messages to an account I no longer used. Patricia broke down. You chased her all the way to the airport and cried like a dog. But she still didn't turn back. The novel she wrote was adapted into a TV drama. And the prototype is Joel. Daniel, she never liked you at all. You're still flattering yourself. You divorced and gave her money. You're so cheap. Other than me, No one truly likes you. Even your parents prefer your younger brother. That biased old hag of a mother of yours has not visited me once since I got pregnant." Ah. Daniel hit her. His parents were not perfect parents either. They were extremely biased toward his younger brother. But reality was often this laughable. The child who was not loved cared most about his parents' opinions and spent his entire life chasing their approval. How could he tolerate his wife accusing the parents he respected most? Patricia had dared to trample on her own dignity and become the mistress. So naturally. She was not an honest, docile person. She fought with Daniel. The price was the loss of the child in her belly. That day was the release date of my film. Joel accompanied me back to the country to attend the premiere. It was also that day that he took me back to our alma mater and proposed to me on the sports field. That night, we conceived our daughter. That day, I received many inexplicable calls and messages from unfamiliar numbers. They were all from Daniel. The content was chaotic. One moment, he blamed me for being heartless. The next, he begged me to turn back. One moment, he admitted his mistakes. The next, he accused me. His entire emotional state was terrifyingly fractured. Looking at Joel beside me, I understood even more clearly that whether in love or marriage, one must clearly see the other person's character. I ignored Daniel. Very soon, Joel and I returned abroad. We bought a new marital home. When we were dating, Joel had already told me all his financial plans. All his savings were placed under my name. And this house was also bought fully by him as a gift to me. The wedding was held in a church. We invited our friends. And throughout the entire ceremony, everyone's faces were filled with deep smiles. Only one of Joel's friends got drunk, filled with emotion. He took a photo of Joel's and my wedding and posted it on a domestic website. Coincidentally, Daniel saw it. Like a madman, he tried to contact me. Unable to reach me, he began publicly posting tearful recollections of his love with me on social media. That post became explosively popular, and people even dug out that I was the author of a certain famous sweet romance novel. Many people left comments under my novel asking about it. Chapter 13. Joel did not let me come forward. From his own perspective, he wrote a statement, saying that he had secretly loved me for many years, that he had discovered my depression had become severe, that my marriage had been betrayed, that he had waited for me to divorce, and that with his own hands, he had nurtured a tree that was about to wither into cherry blossoms in full bloom. The netizens quickly changed sides, one after another scolding Daniel until he could not raise his head. When facing a cheating man, the mouths of netizens were comparable to controlled knives. Even the most unreasonable person could be cursed into losing his mind. Everyone then turned around and hoped Joel would create a marriage account, sprinkling sweet couple moments for them to enjoy every day. But Joel said that he was busy spoiling his wife and child, and truly could not spare the time. In private, he secretly told me that if he had time to shoot videos, he might as well spend it kissing me a little longer. I smiled and pinched him. Daniel's post sank. Gradually, I no longer thought of that person. 9 months later, our daughter was born. Joel and I participated together in every moment of our daughter's growth. In the spring when our daughter was 2 years old, Joel took us to see the cherry blossoms. We happened to run into a university classmate. I held our child and fed the little deer under the cherry tree. Faintly, I heard the conversation between that classmate and Joel. Later, he cheated again, but unexpectedly, his wife Patricia also cheated and even caught a disease. The two divorced. Patricia ran away with the money she had swindled. Daniel went around borrowing money from us. The last time I saw him, he was frighteningly thin. He said he didn't have much time left. And before dying, he still wanted to destroy Patricia. Sigh. Truly, if you don't court disaster, disaster won't come. That person muttered in a lower voice again. He even begged me for Amelia's contact information, crying with snot and tears. I really don't understand where he gets the nerve. Joel smiled faintly and said calmly, "The cherry blossoms are in full bloom. I'm going to accompany my wife and child to enjoy the flowers." He walked over, embraced both me and our daughter, and kissed each of us. His handsome, clear eyes were filled with smiles. A gust of wind blew over, and cherry blossoms drifted down like rain. Dreamlike and unreal, Joel lowered his head to look at me. "This is wonderful." His entire being was filled with love and contentment. I smiled and leaned into his arms. "I'm giving you a rain of cherry blossoms. You are the joy that arrived late. These days truly were wonderful.